to the Stranger Still podcast. I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Miles.
And we are back with our 2023 character by character rewatch of the Stranger Things series, where we follow 11 of our favorite Stranger Things characters throughout seasons 1 through 4.
Love the cast, love the characters. It's the heart of Stranger Things.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube at StrangerStill22. Subscribe, share, review us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Our fifth character, the ace reportin, Barb avengin, demogorgon trappin, pistol firing, shotgun blasting badass. It's Nancy Wheeler.
Oh, yeah. We gotta throw some love out for Nancy.
Oh, Nancy is one of the most consistent characters from the first episode to the last. I think we got a good, just solid track on Nancy from the beginning.
I agree.
Can't wait to talk about her.
I agree. Now, you were saying she is the most aired or second most
screen time of all the characters. So I think everyone kind of intuitively knows 11 is the number one screen time, but Nancy is number 2, ahead of Dustin, ahead of Mike, ahead of Hopper, ahead of Joyce. So yeah,
I was a little surprised by that, but I think that's awesome. I mean, she's a total badass. She does kind of like basically drive the story forward.
A lot of the time she is definitely driving. We meet her though as a very different person. She is
absolutely
this older sister, reserved bookworm who is branching out, having a quote-unquote rebel phase, dating a popular boy named Steve Harrington.
The most popular boy.
The coolest kid in school, right? She's got her bookworm friend, Barb, rolled up into this and is inviting her to a pool party, but sends her home where things begin to go wrong. And Barb and Nancy have that first conversation on the stairs.
Why don't you go ahead and go home? I'll get a ride or something. Vance. Barb. I'm fine. This isn't you. I'm fine. Just...
And of course, Nancy goes upstairs to have sex with Steve, and Barb goes downstairs to be eaten by a demogorgon.
Brutally eaten by a demogorgon in the most horrifying way. I loved this scene the first time we watched it. I thought it was awesome.
It's like that classic 80s girl, 80s good girl with a bad boyfriend.
Oh, absolutely.
And the friend is saying, this isn't you.
The 80s trope.
Yeah, but isn't Barb wrong? I mean, this is you, Nancy. She wants to have fun with Steve, and she's not the good girl bookworm that everyone takes her to be.
I agree with that. I think so. You know, Steve is Nancy's first crush. He happens to be the most popular boy in school. So like to her, there is excitement in there. But like, I think that kind of starts to lead her into the person that she becomes.
Yeah.
Like she is actually a very like bold person, but she's kind of been hidden behind books and academics her whole life so far.
And it is a wobbly start to her new boldness.
Yeah.
She's kind of a jerk in the first couple episodes. Like she slams the door in Dustin's face when he offers her pizza. And then at dinner, she's like, well, I can't go out just because Mike's friend got lost in the woods. Not a lot of concern for Will from Nancy at the beginning. And she's also pretty harsh to Barb. She's like not even willing to tell Barb that she's going up there to have sex. She's got to like have her cake and eat it too. She's like, Barb, I'm just going upstairs. You know, right?
Barb, geez, Barb, get off my back, Barb.
But
I think it's the excitement of, you know, being with somebody that's super popular when they have always been this quiet bookworm.
Yeah. Well, and it's finally time to discard the dead weight, which is Barb.
Oh, that's so sad. when we first watched this, we're all justice for Barb, and she's like, and now you're like, drop the dead weight.
Well, you know, as more seasons have been added on, I care less about Barb. But in this moment, that is one of the most brutal scenes as Steve and Nancy have sex to the bangles and Barb is eaten by Demogorgon. In contrast,
flashing
cut
back
back
and forth. Yeah, that's super good.
Nancy does care. The next day, Barb is not at school. She's piecing together something has happened, and she tells Steve, and Steve doesn't really care about that. He cares only about getting in trouble. So that drives a stake between them. She connects with Jonathan, who is somebody who does really care about what's going on, and they talk at that funeral home and piece together that there actually is a faceless monster in the woods, and they must kill it.
And really, okay, I was just saying that like the previous scene kind of leads to who she is. It's actually the day after. That really is what starts to build into who Nancy becomes.
Yeah.
Those are like our first visions of Nancy.
Into her investigative push forward type of thing. So her and Jonathan, they prepare. They buy bats, they buy guns, they're going to go monster hunting. It's kind of an uneasy alliance. They're not exactly getting along. But on their search at night in the woods, they find that bleeding deer, and Nancy finds a interesting tree that is riddled with upside down portal goo, as we come to know it out. And she goes into the tree. Into the tree. Nancy, why?
Why? I mean, seriously, really, why? Why would anyone choose to go through that? Well, we know as we get to know her through the 4 seasons that we have that she becomes this fearless, strong woman. So this is kind of the first look at that. Like this just shows like she cares about her friends, the people that are important to her. She is willing to do crazy stuff to protect them.
And she had just before this, like 10 minutes before this, she's describing that she doesn't want to settle down, get a nice house in a cul-de-sac and stuff like that. She's saying all that to Jonathan, and this is her rejecting that. She's not going to take the safe route.
Right.
But she doesn't have a good time in the Upside Down. It's not fun. She's chased by the creature. She gets out. Jonathan helps her out. She is traumatized. She rightly points out that, we don't even know. It could just come out of the wall here. We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
She asked Jonathan to sleep over. She doesn't sleep. She's going to push them again. They're determined to get. She's like, round 2. We got to go back and kill it. Let's try again.
Yeah, I know. See, she jumps right into it.
Yep.
So we basically see very early on that she truly is obviously not fearless because she does fear the Upside Down, but she is bold and she's ready to take action.
And all the stuff that happens between Steve as he paints Nancy the Slut Wheeler on the cinema and Jonathan beating the hell out of Steve, all of that, Nancy is annoyed that we're losing sight of the objective. We need to go get the faceless monster, you stupid idiots.
Because she's super intelligent.
Yes, she is. And she's the one on point. So they eventually get swept up with Joyce and Hopper. They're at that buyer's house for the download and the plan. And because Jonathan was in jail, basically.
Oh,
That's how they get swept up into Hopper and Joyce. And she is part of the plan, and they got this little girl who has superpowers, and they're gonna look for Barb and then look for Will. When they look for Barb, 11 confirms Barb is dead. God. So while the rest of the characters are awaiting the main event, which is where is Will? Are we gonna find Will? Nancy is crushed.
Yeah.
Her whole arc is so much more tragic than everyone else's.
It's the only arc that's really tragic.
She doesn't get a season 1 happy ending.
No.
They're all trying to figure out how to save Will, and she's like, oh, Barb's dead, huh?
Yeah, my friend's dead. Nobody cares about it. There's nobody I can talk to really about it.
Right.
Except for Steve.
And I know many people agree with us, but Stranger Things 1, the first season, could exist on its own.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Wait, people don't agree with that?
No, I said I know many people do agree.
Oh, do agree. Okay, I was like,
Stranger Things 1 could be its own thing, and if there was never anything else. That would be kind of a sad twist for Nancy.
Well, not everybody can have the happy ending.
Yeah. Will is saved. The kids' theme is going while they play Dungeons and Dragons. Joyce is glazing up the Christmas ham. It's all roses at the Wheeler's house. She's giving Jonathan a camera and stuff like that. Except for Nancy, she lost Barb.
Yeah.
And never really drops that for the next 3 seasons.
And the thing is, it's not just that she lost her best friend, it's that she feels responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think and I got some stuff on that in season 2, but
Yeah. Gosh, there's so much we can delve into that.
Yeah. Like 3 or 4 times, even when they're in the gym, she's like, okay, we should try to kill the monster again. Let's go set a trap. And they get the bear traps. That's when Steve comes in there and Steve saves the day, thankfully lending a third hand with that nail bat.
Nail bat.
And he was kind of heroic.
The famous nail bat.
The famous nail bat. And in the end, the epilogue, 1 month later, we find out Nancy went back to Steve. Why did she go back to Steve?
So, okay, when I watched this, I wasn't really happy with her going back to Steve. I kind of wanted to see her go to Jonathan, which is funny because now neither of us are really huge fans of Jonathan, as we've seen all 4 seasons. But I do think it was a way better story to have her end up with Steve. It makes way more sense because, okay, Jonathan just got his brother back. He's totally caught up in keeping Will safe. This is even brought up in the next season. Mm-hmm. He's like so preoccupied with making sure Will is protected and never alone. Mm-hmm. But because of that, it means that really Steve's the only one who is there for Nancy to help her cope with the death of Barb. So like it makes sense that she would have latched onto him. And that's why they should have ended up together. Steve is one of the only people she can actually talk to about Barb's death, honestly.
Yeah, and that wanes as Steve moves on and she doesn't. Mm-hmm. I did like the twist, because like you said, it's a trope, the 80s trope, the good girl with the bad jock boyfriend who doesn't care about her, and then the weirdo who does know her for who she really is, she goes with him. That's the kind of classic 80s trope. This turns it on its head.
Yeah, because Steve ends up being a good guy,
and
but still the popular guy.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan doesn't do anything really to defeat that demogorgon. So she's safer with Steve. He's
all led by Nancy. Of course, from the beginning, she's the leader.
Yeah. All right, season 2, we pick up. She's been dating Steve for 1 full year, but stewing on Barb's death. They're having dinner with Barb's parents. She's crying in the bathroom, what I presume is often. Steve suggests they go to a Halloween party. They should be stupid teenagers for a bit. And Nancy gets drunk and tells Steve...
Very uncharacteristic of her.
Uncharacteristic, and tells Steve everything, including their love, is bullshit. I do think the Barb thing is important. I love that
100%.
Death is not the only stake in a story, Yeah. This resonating with Nancy and carrying it for that full year. And like you said, speak on it more. You said there's guilt about Barb.
Oh, absolutely. So she feels responsible for Barb's death. And I think also she holds a little resentment against Steve. If she hadn't gone up to Steve's room and left Barb, that was her actions, but he was still a part of that, right? But so if she hadn't gone up there, Barb would likely not have died.
She made her go to the party in the first place.
Yeah.
Barb didn't want to go.
Uh-huh. But, Nancy was so caught up in her first crush. She's losing her virginity. So she wasn't there for Barb when Barb needed her the most. And as a result, Barb died. Yeah.
Wow. And she was also the one who made Barb shotgun a beer and cut herself and get that blood that dripped into the water that got the demogorgon there.
Nicely put, babe. It was like a very perfect line of events there.
I felt like I was doing the spider ate the fly who ate the cat who ate the dog.
That's what it was. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, absolutely. So like she does feel this immense feeling of responsibility for Barb's death. And that is the wedge that comes between her and Steve.
Do you think she's really conscious of that though?
No, okay. I don't think she's fully conscious. I think she is caught up with the loss of Barb. Like she does feel that and she knows that that's there. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't realize that a lot of that anger is what's coming between her and Steve.
Yeah. Everyone else has been moving on, but there is another character who hasn't, and that's Jonathan. And she confides in Jonathan. They both carry this weight. It makes them mad. They're mad at the fact they have to pretend, and cover up for the lab. And they're going to take the lab down. They undertake a espionage mission.
Again, led by Nancy.
Because
she's the smart one.
That ends up with a cassette tape of Dr. Owens incriminating himself. Dr. Owens, hard fail on that. You gotta pat people down for recording devices. But incriminating the lab, and they're going to take it to Murray in Illinois and bust that lab.
And they are juniors at this point, correct? Yeah, because the next season they're seniors.
We were confused about that on the rewatch.
The fact that like she is able to orchestrate this as a junior in high school. Okay, I'm imagining a lot of our listeners are adults here. Like, can you think back of like when you were that age? Were you smart enough to put something like this together the way Nancy does? No, I wasn't.
No, I was not.
No.
But she does get a little bit of humble pie, a little bit of learning a lesson here when she goes up to Murray and she's like, I got it. And he really slows her roll and gives her first real investigative reporting lesson.
Better. Perfect.
We water it down.
Precisely. Wait.
I love this. I love every scene that Murray is in.
Murray is her favorite.
He is.
I love this scene for Nancy because she goes in there like, is the tape incriminating, yes or no? And I was relieved, first of all, that she doesn't just, she doesn't got like sheer pluck. She takes down an organization just out of sheer determination. She needs this lesson. She's saying, you're an idiot. Why do you have to think? We have him on tape. And as he explains it to her, before he explains it to her, doing the drinks, she catches on and levels up, in my opinion. She's the one who says, water it down, explains it to us, the audience. He hasn't said it yet.
Yeah, but she makes the connection that he is already making in his mind, that Murray is already making in his mind.
So 2 minutes after saying it's simple question, is it incriminating or not? She's the one who is understanding the nuance. And Nancy's ability to learn, and I mean, she's going to be a great reporter in the 90s and 2000s.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing I love about this scene, this moment in particular too, is that Jonathan, he's clearly does not have the brains because he starts walking away at this point. He has zero faith in Murray. But when you're watching this scene, you can actually see the gears turning in Nancy's mind as he's making this drink. Yeah. Like, it's just so cool. Like, you really see that picture of intelligence from her and her strength. Like, it's just a great scene.
Totally agree. And this is an important scene for Nancy. I really agree with that. She's the one who says we make it like 3 Mile Island, make it like a lab spill or something.
Yeah.
So they got the water down plan. Murray guesses their life stories as they celebrate. Jonathan, I love that too. You guys have shared trauma. That's the real shit. I'm going upstairs. See you juniors in high school later. And Jonathan and Nancy sleep together.
Hell yeah.
And then
I think we were all happy about it at this moment. We weren't hating on Jonathan quite yet.
I know. And
we don't really hate on Jonathan.
We got a whole episode about Jonathan that we can talk about. I don't think we hate him. You're right.
No.
They leave Murray's the next day after Murray tells them, don't ever contact me again.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And they go to the buyer's house where they realize the lab has been there because they're unaware of everything else happening. They're unaware that Will is flayed, that he has these now memories, that Hopper is digging into vines at Farmer Brown's field. They're completely unaware. They're just going to go to the lab because the lab has clearly been there taking pictures.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. You forget about that.
Because they find the Polaroids.
Yeah, they find the Polaroids or the cartridges.
The cartridges, yeah.
And also see a bunch of crayon drawings that they have no context
for.
The
heck is this? But they know it's not good.
Are we missing season 2 over here? What's going on? They get swept up in the escape from the lab where they learn Bob Newby is dead. And Jonathan and Nancy, while Jonathan takes part in the plan to get the Will Flair to give them some information in the shed, Nancy and Steve find some closure. And that's where Steve says, I'm a bad boyfriend, but I'm a great babysitter. You go with Jonathan.
God, Steve's such a good guy.
He's a good guy. And I guess just to tie a bow on that whole year that they're dating in between seasons 1 and 2, were they really bullshit? Was Nancy and Steve bullshit, especially in context of now they're sort of rekindling of something of a spark in season 4?
No, I really don't think so. I mean, because I think Steve filled a need that Nancy had in that year. She needed to be comforted. She needed to have somebody to lean on to grieve the loss of her best friend. So she needed all of that. I think that built for like a comforting relationship that she needed at the time. But her guilt just kind of morphed into this anger at herself and this little bit of resentment for Steve. And I mean, I think she knows that he's not really at fault, but it's all wrapped up in her guilt and her anger at herself. And because of that, I think it just wasn't the right time for them. Nancy needed to grow into the person that she becomes as we continue to watch Stranger Things.
And of course, we know that Steve needs this thump.
Yeah.
The breakup and the heartbreak with Nancy to become who he is. So Nancy leaves Steve with the kids, and she goes with Jonathan and Joyce to roast Will Byers. And one thing I forgot, but this rewatch reminded me, is she is really the one who is like deputy to Joyce. Joyce is like, we're getting this thing out of here. We're burning Will. And Will's like choking Joyce. And Nancy like takes a fire poker.
Yeah.
Jonathan has having none of this. He's like, you're killing him. You're
freaking
killing him. And Nancy is just, we're doing this.
Yep. She knows she knows the assignment.
Yeah, she knows the assignment. And ultimately, they succeed. They roast out the Mind Flare from Will Byers, save the day. The gate is closed by 11, and all is well.
Boom. End of season 2.
For now. Yeah, season 3. So now, season 3 we pick up, and Nancy and Jonathan have been going out for about 8 months here.
Yeah.
And they're
we're happy. We're happy at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're clearly, going steady. She's staying at his house.
Joyce pretends to not know.
I know. Joyce knows.
Yeah,
exactly.
of course.
He's got the lipstick on his face.
Yeah.
They're summer interns at the Hawkins Post. And Nancy is not having a good time at this sexist workplace.
No.
She's a coffee girl. They're just horrible, horrible people. I mean, they really are. All those reporters and the editor.
Absolutely. And that was just kind of the atmosphere, I think, in the business world. Like, it wasn't a woman's world in the 80s.
Yeah,
before.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been, 20, 30 years since women even worked at all. Because there was like World War II, women worked because men were away. But like an idea of a woman just wanting a career was relatively new, even in 1983.
Absolutely.
Not like brand new, but still, it was hard, very hard. Jonathan is unsure, but Nancy, I skipped a part. Nancy answers a call late at night. She gets a tip. Crazy rats. And she's determined to investigate. Jonathan is unsure, but Nancy multiple times pushes them to keep going. Even after they're told not to do it, she says, we'll ask forgiveness, not permission. And that gets them fired eventually. Mrs. Driscoll, all that stuff happens. And then we see that friction between Jonathan and Nancy as they're driving, and their relationship, is kind of faltering without a shared trauma situation, right?
Yeah, maybe. I think, I think it comes from Jonathan as a man. He does not understand what she's going through truly. And he's also like super non-confrontational. He's a total pushover. You see that because Nancy is able to lead him into all of the things that they do. Not once is he actually like leading anything.
My favorite joke, the last thing Jonathan decided to do on his own was take pictures of Nancy in her bra. And there are
right?
almost nothing else until season 4.
Yeah, so like he's just not really able to truly understand what she's going through as a woman in this workspace. So I think there's friction there. Is that like their relationship faltering at this moment. I don't know that they're quite there yet. Maybe it is. I don't know.
There's definitely a learning and growth moment for Jonathan here.
Right.
I mean, he admits he's wrong later that for thinking that this is the type of stuff you got to get through. You got to get sandwiches for these people as they, mock you and just have a grand old time.
Yeah, but did he have to get through that?
No, he didn't.
No.
But he thinks like you just got to push through it, right?
Right, yeah.
But I also do think that he has somewhat of a point and I got to be careful here. He's somewhat of a point that she is willing to play much more fast and loose with their employment than he is. Like,
yeah.
If those people weren't horrible people and they just, said no professionally to her, in a professional manner that don't invest in Mrs. Driscoll, I think she still would have, and she still would have probably gotten them fired. So that's Jonathan's sort of like friction there. He's poor and she's rich, and that friction on the other side is there. Ultimately, she is definitely more right than he is because of the behavior of those
Absolutely.
workers.
I do think that you're right to bring that up, though. Yes, he is coming from it from a totally different aspect.
So Nancy and Jonathan split. Nancy goes back home. She is distraught, unemployed, her internship has failed, and she's down in the dumps in a way we haven't really seen her across 3 seasons. And this is where she needs help from her mommy. She makes eye contact. I love the moment they make eye contact. Nancy opens the door. Karen's looking at. There's no lines in that scene. It's just Nancy looking at Karen, and they're going to have this wonderful, great discussion in the kitchen.
And it's like the moment that we didn't get when Nancy lost her virginity, and Karen knows.
Yep.
And Karen knows, and Karen's trying to connect with her in that moment, but Nancy's not ready to do that. But she does go to her mom in this moment. I think it's very sweet.
Well, wherever you get it from, I'm proud of you.
Proud of me for getting fired.
That you stood up for yourself. That you stood up to those shitheads. Mom! Yes, those shitheads. And if you believe in this story, look at me, Nancy. Finish it.
Man, thinking back to how Nancy describes her mom to Jonathan in season 1, that Karen kind of settled for the life that she has, but then comparing that to Nancy now, Karen is recognizing in this moment that this is a turning point for Nancy. One that Karen was clearly confronted with, but chose wrong, in her opinion, chose wrong. But she knows that Nancy's strong enough to make the choice that Karen didn't make, when she went and married Ted. So, I don't know. that is such a beautiful moment. Also, I think Nancy sees in this moment how strong Karen is, acknowledging that even though she settled, she 100% committed to the decision that she made to raise her children to be strong and independent. She did not waver at any moment, even though she gave up everything.
And she's lived with Karen this whole time and realizes her determination does come at least partly from the character of her mom.
Not from Ted.
Yeah, I love that moment. So I don't know where you get from Dad. And they both just burst out laughing. The idea of Ted being inspirational is so absurd. What I do. And I love this moment for Nancy. You're right about everything you said about Karen seeing this and pushing Nancy in a way that she probably wasn't pushed.
Yeah. And
Nancy this is the walls breaking down of parent and child.
Nancy becoming an adult.
Until, the swearing, right?
Yeah.
The swearing, shit, Mom, you don't swear. It's well, I do now. We're both basically adults.
Yeah.
The sitting on the kitchen counter itself, the setting, little Nancy wasn't allowed to sit on the kitchen counter, and there's just something there where they're just kind of becoming equals or just taking a level up there. And man, this is one of the best things that I really think that there is in Stranger Things. This is up there with that bitchin' scene between Hopper and Elle. This dialogue is so good.
A beautiful moment. Because Karen's acknowledging her maturity in this moment.
Yeah. And Karen has the the moment where she says, you're getting beat down, the world beats you up, and they say you're not smart and you're not good, and eventually going from first person to second person, you get kind of that full admission that Karen eventually was like, fine, I'll do what you want. Because Karen is from the 60s, right? Where it's even worse.
Even harder.
Yeah. So she convinces her and says, Nancy, if you started this investigation, gall darn it, finish the investigation. So Nancy says, yeah, and goes to see Mrs. Driscoll.
It happened exactly like that.
To see Mrs. Driscoll at the hospital, which coincides with the sauna test that Mike and Max and Billy and all of them are doing. And Mrs. Driscoll's going nuts. And Nancy's like, wait, whoa, this is upside down stuff.
Yeah, because that's right, because they don't know until that moment that this is upside down stuff.
And so she's like, well, I guess we do got to bring back Jonathan, get some more of that sweet shared drama. And they do. And she calls up Jonathan and they go to the hospital because of Will's idea. Let's let Mrs. Driscoll free. And then she'll lead us back to the source.
Right.
So they go there, her and Jonathan. They meet the flayed newsman, who they have this crazy fight with. They kill those guys. They form into a mini meat flayer where Nancy's trapped in the room with the mini meat flayer and ultimately saved by 11. That was a scary moment. They go to the cabin, the attack. I mean, everything is happening
kind of fast paced.
Yeah, from here in the season
it's
3.
Like we're rolling into the finale.
Yeah, exactly. There's a battle at the hospital. There's a battle at the cabin. There's a battle at the mall. In the cabin attack and the mall, Nancy's big contributions to the end of season 3 are just some badass gun work.
Hell yeah.
I mean, how did she get so good with guns? She's shooting tendrils of the meat flare off and the shotgun in the cabin, and then she's just staring down the oncoming Billy in that Camaro, and she's just firing a pistol, to her death. She's like, I'm going to hit this guy or I'm going to die. And she's not blinking.
It's her. She's truly fearless, and she's super strong, super intelligent. She's like, I've said that a million times throughout this podcast so far. The gun thing, I think it's like a combination of her natural talent, her steady hand, because she's fearless, because she's super confident. And yeah, she's a badass.
Well, Joyce closes the gate. The Battle of the Starcourt Mall ends.
Just a few little things happen.
A few little things happen. But Nancy's mostly along for the ride after her firing straight into Billy. And
she wasn't not going to move, by the way.
She wasn't.
She would have died if Steve hadn't been there.
Yeah, or hit Billy.
And she knows it, too.
Yeah. But the battle ends. Joyce is like, okay, we're done. I'm taking Jonathan. I'm moving to California. And Nancy's going to stay senior year without her boyfriend. Hardly the most important thing, considering Nancy's. We're to keep talking about Nancy. Like that's another thing. Nancy. This goes to our Valentine's Day episode. This love triangle is like pretty small on Nancy's priorities as a character.
Right, right.
I mean, she is like becoming a badass in our view from episode 1, season 1 to the end of season 4. The love triangle seems almost trivial to it.
And that's what separates her from being like a child, like a lot of them. Like she is super mature through all of this, mature enough to realize like what is truly important.
Well, in season 4, Nancy is running the school paper with her deputy Fred.
As she should be. I mean, again, she's a badass.
She's annoyed that Jonathan's not coming home for spring break. And they're just obviously on the fritz, their long-distance relationship not going great. With Fred, she investigates the death of Chrissy. Chrissy is Snappa da Bones in the mobile home park.
Snappa da Bones.
They talk their way into the mobile home park, and then Fred is Snappa da Bones and dies. Nancy's there just next to Fred's just mutilated corpse in the road, and she's relieved to see Steve and the party arrive at the crime scene. Her face when she sees them is so, touching. She's like, there's my people. There's my people.
Yeah, her support.
They in the mobile home park, they download all of the information they know so far about Vecna. I love
that. Download the info.
Yeah. And then they split up. So Nancy and Robin are going to go investigate what is Nancy's long shot Victor Creel theory, because she had talked to Eddie's uncle, and Eddie's uncle thinks this is Victor Creel. So she's just going to get some more information on that.
She knows there's something there.
She does. So against Steve's objections, he doesn't get to go. He's the
babysitting
babysitter
again.
But Nancy and Robin at the library, and then the Penhurst Asylum, there's some friction there as they work together. Nancy and Robin. What's their friction about?
Well, I mean, Nancy's jealous, of course.
Jealous of Robin.
Yes. Okay. So she's already kind of on the fritz with Jonathan. The relationship isn't great right now. And then, of course, she's confronted with her first love, the person she lost her virginity to, who seems to have this like super intense, strong relationship with Robin. But what Nancy doesn't realize is that they are truly just friends. Like, they're just really close friends, and Robin's not a threat. Of course, Robin knows how Steve still feels about Nancy, but Nancy doesn't see that. So there's this jealousy there, but I love the way it's handled. It's handled like in such a very adult way by Nancy. Like, it's not like she's being disrespectful or rude or anything. She's clearly super annoyed, but she's trying not to be like mean or angry towards Robin. Of course, Robin's smart enough to pick up on everything.
Yeah. Can I throw something just against the wall? I don't know if this is true or not, but
not true.
Robin is better at this than Nancy is. For seasons 1, 2, and 3, Nancy is right about everything. Jonathan's a pure sidekick, and so is Fred earlier in the day. They make no meaningful contribution except for like nominal pushback that helps Nancy. Nancy is pretty much wrong. Robin is the one who figures out where it is to check the tabloids. Robin is the one who ad-libs on the Penhurst Asylum plan. Nancy's plan was not going to work. Robin is the one who makes it work. It's just kind of interesting that this is the first time some small growth for Nancy that she's actually, there's someone just as good as her.
Yeah, just as good, if not smarter than her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's always been the smart take charge one, and then Robin comes in.
Yeah, and because Robin the whole time is saying, this plan sucks. Like, I don't want to dress up like this. We could do something else. And she makes it something much better that actually works.
Yeah. I think Nancy in that moment is realizing like, okay, like, all right, Robin's actually pretty badass.
And who's the one who figures the music thing out that saves Max? It's Robin, not Nancy. But Kate Bush saves Max thanks to Robin and Nancy's investigative flashback with Victor Creel. And they realize that there's more kids in danger. There's that moment upstairs when Nancy and Max are sitting there. Max is trying to draw what she's seen, and Nancy's like, that's the Creel house. So now she's absolutely certain they're going to go to the Creel house. They learn, but that's Vecna's home in the Upside Down, and all sorts of stuff happening in season 4. They go back to the lake cabin. They come upon Patrick's murder. They meet Eddie at Skull Rock, all to get us to the lake and the Watergate moment, where Steve is going to go swim down and test Dustin's theory that there's a gate at the bottom of the lake. And he gets sucked in by the Upside Down, and Nancy dives after him.
The first one. And
She's
there's
the
no
first one.
hesitation.
Exactly. She's like, he's not coming up. I'm going to the bottom of the lake now, despite the danger. And I think, we talk about Nancy. We introduced her as a bookworm. We talk about her with guns. But man, she is also, as much of a thinker, she is a true fighter. And we did this for Steve. What's her best heroic moment?
God, there's so many to choose from.
Well, I have a few for you to choose from. Okay. She brings the tape cassette into the Hawkins lab in season 2. She fire extinguishes the flayed Bruce when she beats him in that hospital. She shotgun blasts the meat flare when it's attacking 11 in the cabin.
All right, that's 3.
She's shooting Billy as he drives across the parking lot in the Battle of Starcourt, as we talked about. And then diving into the lake after Steve and then beating off the bats when she gets in there.
All right. Should I rank them 1 through 5?
Rank them 1 through 5.
Okay. Should I start with number 1?
Yeah. No. Start with 5.
All right. I think, okay. No, I know. Number 5 in this situation is the fire extinguisher. Because yeah, it was pretty badass. She just beat him to crap with this fire extinguisher. However, in that moment, it's like completely fear driven.
Yeah.
So you could kind of use the excuse that other people might have done the same thing in this situation. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if like that truly displays her awesomeness.
Yeah. Number 4.
What's your number 5?
No, I don't have them.
Oh,
you
okay.
you take
All right,
the.
I'll take the lead.
I know I
I'll take the
wrote
lead
this,
here.
but I love a good power ranking. I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay. So number 4, I think the shotgun blast to the meat flare.
Ooh, yeah.
So she has like this absolute confidence in wielding that shotgun. It's super impressive. Like, this is a giant killer blob that's resorbed like a bunch of the townsfolk. Yet here she is, fury in her eyes, blasting this thing. That's why she's such a badass. But I have it ranked kind of lower because they're just like, they're already in the danger situation. Yeah. So you're confronted with 2 things. You either cower in fear or you fight back. And of course she fights back because she's awesome. So that was number 4.
Yep.
So number 3, the tape cassette to Hawkins' lab. And yeah, she didn't do any like shooting or fighting or anything, but she does know what that the lab is capable of bad things, obviously. And she knows that there could be some terrible consequences, but she does it anyway. I mean, like, that's ballsy.
Changes the game right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And she convinces Jonathan to do it too, because he wouldn't have done it without her coercing.
Did he need to be there? She had the tape.
No, she basically did everything. She's crushing it. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 2, shooting at Billy as he drives towards her.
Okay.
I mean, damn. Like, yeah, she doesn't take him down. It doesn't actually make any difference. But she stays there till the end. And she doesn't flinch at all. Not even in the last second. Because she doesn't know Steve's about to save her life.
Right.
She knows that she's about to die there. It gets to a point of no return.
Right.
And yet she doesn't move. So, damn, she's such a badass. But number 1 has got to be diving into the lake after Steve, because that is going into the upside down and she could die, and she knows it in this moment, and yet she is like clearly the heroic one here as she makes the choice to go down there. I'm like, so Steve is like a hero, but he's like afraid of everything, right?
Right.
But Nancy, she has like not no fear, but like she is like a 5-star general. Like, she just goes for it.
Decisive.
Very decisive. Not a lot of fear there, and she's like ready to do anything to save the people she loves.
Well power ranked. I love a good power ranking.
Do you agree? Do you think I did pretty well?
I'm going to put Billy at number 1, probably, in the lake number 2.
Yeah, that was a hard one for me.
Otherwise, I agree. So the upside down, they are now in it because of this. They do. Robin and Eddie follow Nancy down into the upside down. They beat off the bats. They escape the upside down by connecting with Dustin because they go to the Wheeler house to find her guns. They realize the upside down is in 1983. They communicate with Dustin through the light bright, as you do. And as they're just about to escape through Eddie's trailer, Nancy is Vecna'd. And Vecna shows her his backstory and tells her to tell 11 and lets her live.
And how does she respond?
By saying, we're going to go back and kill Vecna.
Whatever's happening in Lenora is connected to all of this. I'm sure of it. But Vecna can't hurt them. Not if he's dead.
We have to go back in there. Back to the upside down.
Whoa, no. What? Nope. No, let's think this through, okay?
What is here to think through?
We barely made it out of there in one piece.
Yeah, because we weren't prepared. But this time, we will be. We'll get weapons and protection. We'll go through the gate, we'll find his lair, and we'll kill him.
Or he'll kill us. The only reason that you survived...
Badass Nancy's at it again.
She's pushing the whole group, because right after that, Robin is also like, no, he is super powerful. We're going to die. She's the one pushing forward. Like you said, she's the 5-star general. She's the organizer. Gets help from Dustin, gets help from Max, of course. I love this scene because it's another example of Nancy taking it into her own hands with her decisiveness.
Yeah, when she's been like shown the worst thing that could possibly happen, and she knows in that moment that it is going to happen unless they do something. But like, and so she makes that connection immediately. She's just gone through this terrifying experience that does not thwart her. Instantly, she knows what has to be done. They don't have a plan, but she knows it has to happen no matter what.
And they do. They create a plan, they execute a plan, and it ends with success, right? It ends with Nancy, Steve, and Robin. Robin throw a Molotov cocktail, and Nancy is shotgunning the hell.
Yeah, who's at the forefront? Nancy is. She is on the front line. She is the one leading them up there.
Shotgunning Vecna. Should have went for the head, but, whatever. Chest shots are fine.
I guess. I mean, he does live.
He does live, so
but would it have killed him if they shot him in the head, though? Would it
I don't know. I'm unclear. We'll have to see what happens in season 5. I feel like his consciousness is somehow in the hive mind or something. I don't know, because, we got some weird stuff going on. But that's the end.
And now we have to wait until season 5.
I don't know how to wrap this one up exactly. Except to say with this last thing. What does Vecna use to get into Nancy's mind?
Oh, well, it goes back to the Barb guilt. It followed her from season 1.
And he knows exactly what to tell her. I don't forget. I don't forget about the people I kill, but you do. You're living a life. The whole thing starts with that. I just love the consistency of Nancy's character. It's one of the big things of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think's up for Nancy in season 5? What do you think she's gonna do?
Well, we end with like the Nancy Jonathan, like they're okay, which they're clearly not.
I know. Check out our Valentine's Day episode for more about the way the love triangle ends here.
So yeah, I don't know. I think I like what you've said in the past that she'll end up alone. I think we're gonna see more badassery from Nancy for sure.
I think Nancy is going to complete the Barb vengeance. Like
you think she's gonna be the one to do it, huh?
Well, I think she got watered down resolution. The lab is gone, but the lab's not really. The Demogorgon's gone, but the Demogorgon, the lab, they're not really what killed Barb. At the root of it, it was you, Vecna, and she's just gonna determine to fully avenge Barb.
But are we gonna take that justice from 11? Because 11 was obviously like.
I think 11 will probably do the final blow, but I think Nancy is still going to be invested. Part. She's not just going to be like, yeah, you guys do your thing. I think she's still like, there's one more thing that I got to tick off before I can go on with my life.
Okay.
All right. Well,
there you have it. Season 5 wrapping up.
Season 5 wrapping up. That is Nancy. We will be back for our 6th character, Lucas Sinclair.
Oh, yeah. He's the one that's developed the most for me, I think. I'm really excited for this one.
That's going to be a really good one. I'm Miles.
I'm Kathleen.
Again.